Welcome everyone to Hope Reformers podcast. I am here with my good buddy, Alex Escobar. Welcome, Alex. Awesome to be having you on today.
Thank you, Ide. I'm really excited to be talking with you again, and I'm excited to be on the show. Yeah, thank you.
You guys probably don't know, but Alex was a big help actually, in helping me even start the podcast. He has his own podcast, maybe at 2 now. I don't know if the other one's still going on, but has his own podcast. So obviously I asked him for advice on how to even do a podcast. He recommended a lot of things to me, equipment and even just practical tips. So thankful for you, buddy. Finally having you on the podcast after it's been about 2 years. So yeah. I'm excited. I always have people start by introducing themselves to our audience, specifically your journey with God and how you got to where you are today. So if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Okay, absolutely. So I grew up early on. I have some of my earliest memories are in the church. We would go to the Episcopal Church in Miami, and I remember, and I think it's something maybe with like the innocence of a child, right? Like you wholeheartedly believe, and I remember praying for healing for people and things like that were things at other parts of my life where I would have been kind of but early on I just remember wholeheartedly believing. One of my earliest fun memories at church too was I was so excited to go to church. I really felt like I just owned it, right? I was there, I belonged, and everyone around me loved me, and I loved to get dressed up and wear suits. And I remember one time I got up early before my parents, and I put on all my ties. I had like 5 ties, and I just put them all on because one tie is good, but 5
Right.
ties is extra fancy.
5 times better.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, guys, I'm ready. Let's go to church. And, it was just like a cute moment where I was just so excited about it. And that was when we were living in Miami. And then I remember in first grade is when we first moved to Virginia. And so we left that church. And it was a place where, we just didn't connect quite the same way culturally and in that community as a family. And I just remembered we kind of stopped going to church as a family. And so pretty much from first grade on, I wasn't that involved in the church. We would still pray at home. We'd still have Bibles and crosses at the house. And I still remembered that God loved me and that Jesus was there, and a lot of those really basic fundamentals about who I am. But just over the years, I think I stayed with that child's understanding of God and his love and Jesus, which is really powerful, actually. It was it's really beautiful to walk through my whole childhood with that solid base, that solid foundation of knowledge that I'm loved.
Yeah.
And that the all-powerful creator is there, but I didn't really get into more of the adult types of nuances and higher levels of understanding. At different points, I remember going to different churches here and there, but it was just never a long-term thing. And it was never very deep. And then I remember in college getting challenged more. I remember actually I took a religion class for a lot of the same reasons, right? I still had this foundation where I knew that God was good, that God loved me, and I still wanted to learn more about it. So I took a religion class. And it was an academic religion class where really the point was more to challenge your assumptions. It was more, and it did, and it was really scary. And I went through this whole thing of like, is anything real, right? I remember crying. I just remember like, what's the point of anything? It really just shook me a lot. And then throughout that time in college, I got exposed to a lot of other friends and a lot of other cultures and religions and things like that. And kind of with that same religion class, just being exposed to some of these other things. Also, just kind of like from a curiosity point of view, I started opening up and saying, well, maybe there's a little bit of truth here and a little bit of truth there. And so that was, on the one hand, I think it was good for me. I mean, a lot of these people that I met in college from different religions are still some of my closest friends, and I really love them a lot. And I really admire and respect, the traditions and the things in their faith. But just when it came to me, it left me a little bit like, okay, well, where am I? What do I believe? And I remember at different points and then there was another part of it too that also kind of played in the same time period, was that a lot of the people that called themselves Christians, I didn't like a lot of the behavior that I saw, right? There was things that I felt that was either judgmental or a sense of superiority, things that now I really see as kind of not Christian things. And of course, we're all flawed people, but I think some of those examples that I saw made me think, hey, maybe I don't want to associate myself with this. And even to the point, I remember when I met my grandmother, not my grandma, my wife's grandmother. So we were starting to date, and in Honduras, everyone's Christian. So she asked me the question. She's like, "So which religion are you?" And then she had a little pause, and she said, "Are you Christian or Catholic?" And those were the only two answers.
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed, and I was like, "Well, I'm more spiritual than anything." That's kind of the answer I had. That's kind of where I was at that point. And I remember just her being kind of confused. She's like, "It's either or. I don't understand." But so that's kind of where I was, just kind of in this in-between stage. Still definitely had a sense that there's something out there that's good and powerful and bigger than me and connected to me. But I wasn't calling myself a Christian at that point. A few years went by and I started a job at USAID, and then there's this crazy friend from work started inviting me to these Bible studies, and it was you. And we were already friends, but I definitely think we got closer during those Bible studies. And I think in very much the same way that a lot of my peers in college turned me off about Christianity, right? I saw some behaviors that I didn't think were things that I liked, and things that in a lot of the same ways, I think you showed me a good example of the humility of, and I think in particular because of your story of coming from a different faith and still having that respect for it and that like knowledge of it, but saying, hey, this is for me. It just made me feel like, hey, this is a tone that I can take too, right? Like this is where I come from. This is what I've always had in my heart. And here's a way that I can still continue to live this in my life without necessarily, some of these other behaviors, like I said, of judgment or disrespect of other people's cultures and things like that. And so then I started calling myself a Christian again. It was a really beautiful moment, I think, for me, because it felt like coming home. It felt like I was always supposed to be here, right? And so since then, I've even at that point, I think I started to call myself a Christian again. I started to really own that, and I started to go to these dinner clubs with this group called, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's a really beautiful group focused on testimonies and kind of outreach outside of the church, right? Outside of church communities. You go and find people and just invite them to dinner. And so it was a really beautiful time with that organization too. And then really when I got another, I guess, kick in the butt when my daughter was born in 2020, because after my whole life, I never had any anxiety or any depression or anything. But when she was born, all of a sudden, it really hit me hard. And I just felt this sense of like, I have this precious thing that I'm not able to protect from everything that's out there, right? The whole world, there's all these things, anything could happen. And I can't protect her from everything.
Right.
And how can I not have anxiety, right? Like it was terrifying. And I was waking up in the middle of the night, and pretty quickly, I don't remember exactly the moment, but it was just like, okay, yeah, obviously the answer is God, right? I really got to learn to trust him more. And I think with yourself, it's important, right? Obviously, I want to live. I don't want bad things to happen to me. But with your daughter, it's like more, right? You want to protect them. And so it was just like a heightened level of need. I really need God. I really need to get closer to him. And so that was when I finally joined the church and really started attending and started, trying in that other way of getting closer. aside from just kind of the home, knowing that he's in my heart is good, but you always encourage me. He's like, hey, this is a good start, but joining a church is really where a lot of the growth happens. It's where you can really get closer to God. And so yeah, now my daughter's going to be 5 pretty soon. So I guess it's been 5 years of attending church and getting involved in that community and everything. And it has been really good for us, I think, to get closer, to be part of that community where I feel like, getting saved is like step one, and that's good. But just after, there's still a lot of challenges. There's still a lot of difficulty and pain. And it doesn't mean just all your problems go away. And so having that community is just the next level. And so,
yeah, beautiful. I do remember, like, connecting at USAID, and I don't even remember what year we started that study, but yeah, I remember you were coming, some other colleagues came, and it was a good time. I mean, I felt like it was really a blessing for me too, to be able to do that. One, do that in the workplace, but two, to do it with friends. And so, I think we did every other week. I can't even remember anymore. But
yeah, because you did 1 week with us. I called us like the beginner class, and then you had the other week where you did it with people who were maybe more. I don't know what you'd call it. Like, my perception was that it was people who were more established, I guess, or more advanced. I don't know if that's the appropriate language for it.
I guess they were already like walking with God very closely or closer. I don't even know what you want to call it, but yeah, I think because I would say not everyone in the group was already like saying I'm a Christian, right?
Yeah.
But they were open. So it was like, this might work better if we just do it in a smaller group, because I don't want anyone to kind of get like confused about what they're talking about. And so, yeah, I think it worked out though. It was good.
It did. It was really good. I'll say from my perspective, it's intimidating, right? When you go in there and people are quoting Bible verses off the top of their head and they really know their stuff.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm too messed up, to be in this club where everyone seems to have their act together, right? And so it is kind of intimidating. So I thought it was a really great idea to have like the beginner class where we're all kind of like, we're all beginners. We're all just learning about this, and we're all open. And like you said, and so it did make it a lot less intimidating from my perspective.
Yeah.
It was
no, it was really good. Yeah. And then I think it's good for me too, to one, connect with you guys, but also getting like even questions that you guys would have, it would make me think, oh, that's a good question. So we would think about it, talk about it, pray about it. I may have to do research and come back and talk to you guys, but I think it was really helpful for me as well. Yeah. And then you mentioned some things in the beginning when you were sharing your story, and you're right. So like getting saved is the first. It's like almost like you're getting married, right? So you're getting married with your wife, but that's huge. That's like a huge marker for your relationship. But of course, the journey continues where you get to know one another and grow, and then you guys go through difficult times together, go through the good times together, but you guys are by each other's side. And so similarly, when we walk with Jesus, I mean, being saved is like, I mean, you can't ask for anything more, right? Having a relationship with God, right, through Jesus. But like you said, he even said, like, in this world you're gonna have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. And he promises that he'll always walk with us, right? He'll always be with us. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, because life is not always easy. We, going back to USAID, our journey began, I don't remember when I came, maybe 2012, 2013. But I started as like kind of like a contractor. So I was doing stuff from home. And then that kind of contract ended. And I remember I had to turn in I think I was responsible for putting together the binders or something.
Yeah.
So I would just drop them off, and I would that's when I met you for the first time, because I think my supervisor was introducing me to the team, and I remember you, of course you're friendly and stuff like that, but I didn't think much of it because I just came to drop off some stuff. And then so that position ended, and I was still like jobless, right, for a while. I think I had a part-time thing as an admin assistant somewhere at my seminary, actually. And but it's still like, I was still looking for a full-time job, and I was like, okay, what am I doing with my life? I think I was already like 30, 32, maybe 33. I don't even know how old I was, but I was getting up there, and I was like, man, like, I got no wife. I don't have a real job. I don't have a full-time job. What am I doing? And I was just really like bummed out. then like I got a call from our past supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Hey, you did a good job on that contract. Would you like to, would you be interested?" And so the opportunity opened up for me. So I mean, I did have to apply still. I mean, and put in my forms and stuff, but basically that was an opportunity that I didn't expect to come, and it came like, for me, it was out of the blue, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa!" And that's when I got my foot in the door. I got to know you better. We connected. We had some funny times, good times at USAID.
We'd always dress the same.
Yeah, that was another thing. So we would do this thing. Did we always pick a day, or was it random? I forgot. Was it like a
We
Tuesday
would
or
text
Friday?
each other. We'd coordinate.
Yeah, so like, and some of the stuff we didn't even buy on purpose, but we just had the same shirt. So we would literally coordinate. So we had like a blue, like
I still have it here.
plaid shirt. I have it too. And then I'd be like, hey, let's wear that outfit today, right? So it'd be like blue and then khakis. And then we would show up in the office and people would be like, what? Or we walk by someone's office, like you go first. You'd be like, hey, and then I'll walk by a few seconds later, be like, hey. And then they'll be so confused because we were in the same exact outfit. So it was fun. It was funny. And we had several outfits like that over the years. So it was a lot of inside jokes, a lot of fun times. Yeah, I still consider it like one of my favorite times at a workplace in that phase. I was there for what, like, I think I was there for like 9 years, and then I went to NIH, and then I came back.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there, but you had moved around different
Yep.
offices within USAID. Yeah, so this past year has been challenging for us both.
Because we were both back at USAID. Yeah.
Both back at USAID, thinking everything's going well overall. Government job stable.
Stable as you can be, right?
You can be. And then I guess by the first 2-3 months, we knew we were gonna be out of a job. And so we're like, what is happening? And so here we are. It's already almost to the end of September, and we're both still technically jobless in a way.
Yeah.
And we have 2 young kids, wife, mortgage, daycare, all this stuff. Thankfully our wives are still working, but over the past few months, it's been helpful for me personally to be in touch with you, with other people who are in the same boat, just to provide encouragement to one another, because it could be discouraging. It could be really discouraging. You start thinking like, having self-doubt, questions about your future. What am I doing? Yeah, there's, especially as like the man of the house, we have this, like, in a way, you're like,
to
I'm not
provide, yeah.
supposed to provide, not pulling my weight. It's been challenging in several aspects. In the midst of that, trying to trust in the Lord, know that He's our provider. But I guess for you yourself, how have you found ways to focus on God and navigate through these times where there could be moments of discouragement or even depression, where you're like, oh, like, woe is me kind of thing. Like, what's been helpful for you?
Yeah. Well, I'll say that I haven't always, during the last 6 months or so, right, which has been about almost 7 months now, there's been times I just kind of go into the despair, pity party kind of thing. I'll be open about that because it's hard. And I think ironically, I've had good friends reach out to me, and if it sounds bad to say, but sometimes like that's not they do it with love, they do it with genuine care and concern, but when they ask how I'm doing, it opens up the floodgates of, well, not so good, right? And so it's almost counterintuitive. So it's kind of nice that we're going through it together, because I don't know, for some reason it's easier to talk to you than it is to talk to my employed friends.
Those guys.
Yeah. And it's not, again, I'm thankful that they love me and that they care, but sure. I don't part of it is I don't want to come across as whiny or complainy or
Yeah.
down or be depressing. And then the other part of it is just that there's nothing they can do, right? And so for me, really, the thing that has helped me to get out of it is two things. Because, well, the first is some sort of routine, right? Some sort of self-care and allowing myself time. Because I think the hardest thing that I've done that has been really damaging to me is get into survival mode where it's like,
Mm.
I have to find a job now. I have to do this now. And every spare moment, every minute, I'm not allowed to, I want to allow myself to enjoy, to feel a sense of peace, to slow down, and when I get into that place, it's a really bad place to be, because I feel like your brain shuts off. Like you
Mm.
get less creative, you get less charismatic, you get less,
Mm.
the conversation is less interesting, which makes other people less inclined to help you, because you're just, you get this little bit of
Yeah.
tunnel vision, right?
Mm.
And so I've made a deliberate effort to try to make time to enjoy my daughters, to have
Yes.
workouts, to go for a walk, which is counterintuitive, but I if I'm gonna find something, if I'm gonna be successful, I think I have to come at it from a place of power, from a place of confidence, from a place of peace, as opposed to this desperate,
Mm.
oh, please, anything, like that's exactly the wrong state of mind to be in. And so I felt that, and I feel like in the moments when I do give myself that grace to slow down, to limit what I actually try to do in a day, to limit my hours, that kind of thing, it's a little bit of a trade-off, because yeah, I might be getting less done, but it's not just about that. It's about how I'm getting it done and how I can show up for what's most important for my family and stuff like that. So, and just my own mental health. So that's the first thing that I'll do. And then the second has been hope, right? Like there's been times when I literally feel like I'm wasting my time applying for jobs, because the pessimism comes in. It's like, I've applied to 100 and I haven't gotten even one interview. What's the point of applying to 100 more, right? I may as well just do something else. I don't know. This isn't working. And that's the thing that is the hardest one. Is it feels like if it hasn't worked so far, there's no guarantee that it's going to work next time. Maybe I'm just doing the wrong thing. And so
Mm.
so I guess to respond to that feeling of like pessimism, what I've done is I've spent a lot of time in entrepreneurial stuff, right? Even if that hasn't necessarily always worked out, just the idea, the way that allows me to be creative and think of something, have an idea, put some effort into it, and feel like I'm smart, feel like I'm a mover and I don't need anyone's permission to go out and make any money, has kind of built up my confidence a little bit, to the point where now I can go back and interview again and apply to jobs and network and see with a little bit of a higher level of, I guess, with a little bit less desperation coming
Mm.
to it with that mindset, puts me in a little bit more of a powerful position. And so, yeah, if an opportunity comes and it meets my requirements and then I'll take it, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to, oh, anything. And then from the perspective of God is the idea of building that into my daily thing. So when I go out on my walks, because my walks is really my time when I have quiet and I'm outside in nature and I hear the birds and I see the trees and I can slow down. And I try not to listen to music or anything like that. That's my time to really try to connect with God.
Mm.
And so for me, that's my spiritual time, man. That's when there's not interruptions, there's no phone, there's no nothing. And I can be out there a little bit and just listen. And
Yeah.
and so at least in terms of like a simple practice, that's one. In addition to that, we pray at bedtime with the girls, and so it's really beautiful to see my 1-year-old. You know, when she sees what we're doing, she doesn't understand it, but she puts her hands together and prays with us, and she's like, "All right, if you guys are doing it, I'm doing it too." And so those moments too are really special, to be able to feel like God is involved every day in the simplest things, and that builds the trust that He's still watching out for us.
Yeah.
And so even if I don't know, and I will say, for the purposes of like a little bit of a testimony, right? After 6 months of not making a dime, so I've been a realtor on the side for years, and I hadn't sold any houses or anything. And then all of a sudden last week, I got 2 houses under contract and another listing coming on the market. And so I do want to give him credit, right? Like when a lot of times I'd go out and show houses, and I'd be like, yeah, you know, maybe they're never going to buy a house, but it's an opportunity. Even if it's 1 in 100, there might be a commission here. And so that, again, that pessimism is still here on this shoulder, and then there's always like hope here on this shoulder. And the one other thing I'll say too that has helped is a conversation I had with my pastor at my church, where he talked a little bit about hope, because I was asking him about it. I was like, this is a tough situation, and where does hope come in? You can always have hope, like, but it's, at some point it feels like you're just deluding yourself. That's essentially what I asked him. And he said, it's true. Like, God might not give you what you want. It happens. And every day some people get their worst case scenario, right? There might be some diagnosis, there might be a death, there might be some really life and death thing where it's like the worst possible thing that could happen to this person is happening to them. And sometimes that happens. But that's not what hope is, that He's just going to solve all your problems. It's that, like what you said earlier today, it's that no matter what happens, God is with us. And so from that perspective, it's almost an opportunity when we're going through these difficult times, because how can you show that hope when everything is good, right? Of course I have hope because everything is good. I have everything I want, and I'm riding high, and thank God, right? Of course you can show a lot of gratitude, but hope, it's almost like asking for patience. Well, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. If you ask God to give you a chance to show patience, He's gonna give you a chance, and you gotta wait. It's not so with this, hope is also like, well, we're here right now, we're in this difficult situation, so this is a time to show hope, to show that even though things are tough, I still believe that God is here, that Jesus is with me, and that he's got me. And so it can only happen really during these difficult times. It's kind of a cool little realization there that helps me kind of deal with it a little bit day to day.
For sure. Yeah. I think you hit on a lot of things, but you know, even that last thing, that hope, faith is it's like a muscle. I mean, like you said, if hope really makes sense only when things aren't going perfect, right? Because when we're like with God, and you know, when we pass away and we're with the Lord, new heaven, new earth, I mean, everything's going to be perfect. But it's in the moments where things aren't perfect, where hope is a force. It's a powerful thing, you know, to trust in who Jesus is, what He's done, and his character, His faithfulness, you know. And sometimes it is a battle, right? Because we can tend to go easily into take matters into my own hands. I'm going to try to just do it my way. Like, God, if you're not going to come through for me, I got to do it myself. Or you forget His character, you forget His goodness, and you doubt, which I think we see in the Bible too, right? It's like you just forget what He's done for you already, who He is, how strong He is, how good He is, how much He loves you. And if you remember those things, like, why wouldn't He come through for you? right? It may not look exactly like you envisioned it, like you said, but he's going to walk with you through it, right? And so I think for myself, along those lines, one of the things I've been doing, in addition to, doing the practical steps, yeah, I mean, I could just sit here and do nothing and be like, well, God's going to give me a job. But I think we're supposed to do our part. We do what we do, and then we let God do what He does. So there's this steadfastness that we have to do as well. Like, we do our due diligence, putting out the applications and all that stuff in this situation, taking the steps, mental health, like taking those walks, taking breaks, doing things that you enjoy, actually, and seeing the blessing of not having a job in this time, right? Like you said, spending more time with your daughters. For me, it's spending more time with the kids and my wife, and being able to do other things that are more, for me, it'd be ministry, right? Ministry related things that I love to do. I mean, if my ministry stuff could pay me, then I'd be like, hey, like, that's good. But at this point, it's not sustainable. But in the midst of looking for a job, I have all this free time where I can do the things that I love, whether it's family stuff or ministry stuff. I'm like, wow, this is great. Now, I mean, obviously we still need to pay the bills and stuff like that. But the other things that helped me were remembering who God is. And so God builds a track record with us, right? Like he'll prove to you who He is by just as you walk with Him. And then you take that lesson and you're like, hey, He's still the same God. If He did it before, He can do it again. It may not be exact same situation, but you're like, hey, like, for example, for me, I got that job at USA, out of the blue. And I'm like, I was shocked. And so I'm like, hey, if God, you can do that, like, you can do that again here, right? Like, you can give me a job that I didn't even expect, better than I could have dreamed. Like, you can just do it. And so I'm going to pray, I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'm going to trust that in your timing, God, you're going to provide. Because He's already proven His character to me as the provider, God the provider. Like, I know Him as a provider in that way because of my history, right? And I guess the question is, like, what if you haven't had that experience yet? Then I would say looking into the Bible, right? Because the Bible is a testimony of who God is, of who Jesus is. And if you read stories about how He provides, how He rescues, how He saves, how He heals, how He restores, how He delivers, and how He saves. Like, you read these stories, like, wait, God, if you did that for Paul, if you did that for Moses, if you did that for Gideon, you can do that for me, right? Like, it's not like you've changed since these stories were written about you. So you're the same God that I'm reading about. You're the same God I hear preached about on Sunday. So I'm going to claim that. I'm going to believe that. And I think the exercise is reminding yourself.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I mean, I know that here, but until I really pull it out, I'm like, oh yeah, that is who He is. Right. And then there's this thing that I've been also trying to do is, we call it adoration prayer, where it's not asking like, God, could you do this? It's just declaring who He is. Like, just speaking words of declaring, God, you are. God, you're a provider. You provided for me in the past. I remember when you gave me that job at USA in the first place. And I just do that. Or, God, I remember how you made a way for Moses and the Israelites when there was no way. Like, you opened the sea. Like, for me, I don't see a way sometimes. Like, how am I going to find a job that I love that will pay the bills? I'm like, God, if you're still the same God that makes the way. So I just declare those things. And it helps me to renew my mind. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, that is who God is. And I find my faith increasing, my hope increasing as I remind myself who He is, And even if it's not me, like, if it's for someone else, like, I remember you did that for that person. I believe you do that for me too, and that's exercise in hope. Hope can be exercise, I would say. Yeah.
I love that because it definitely, again, there's that internal dialogue that's happening. I always think of like the little cartoon angel and the little cartoon
Yeah.
bad guy who's like sitting there telling you. And I hear those voices, right? Like it's not the same. It's not like in the cartoons, but it's very often, and usually for me, when it comes to doubt, it's not that I'm doubting God, it's that I'm doubting me, right? And that's the easiest way, I think, for it to come, where it's, yeah, I know God could do that, but I'm not worthy of it, or I don't deserve it, or I'm not smart enough, or God, those blessings are for other people, but they're not for me, right? Like, look, all these other people are getting ahead, and I'm struggling. And so that's really, I think, the easiest way for us to talk ourselves out of the hope, because God is God. Like, if you believe in God, you know he's good, you know but I think that challenge is one of the ones where it's like we're the weak link in that relationship, right? It's us. And so, but it's his love is so much bigger than that. And that's the part where I think that adoration prayer could be a great reminder, is that because it's not just that he's so powerful, it's that his love is so much bigger than even our flaws, right? That's where he can overcome it. He can overcome our weaknesses, our flaws, our lack of deserving, if that is even true, right? And so I love that idea of having it be an exercise, a muscle that we can work out, because it makes it attainable. It makes it like, maybe it feels a little bit unnatural at the beginning. And I'll say that I've been there, right? Like, there's times where it's like, what's the point of anything? And then I've been able to get myself out of those humps and get up and still be productive and still do it. But maybe I could get even stronger, right? And get to the point where I don't even let myself fall into that, because it's, I don't know about you, but when I get into those funks, it might be a few days where I'm not getting much done. And it's not a fun place to be.
No.
And I'm not fun to be around. And I'd rather just not go there, right? So I love the idea that this is a skill. Yeah, I can get out of it eventually, but what if I can not even get into that funk to begin with, right? Some of it is natural, right? We got to let ourselves have our feelings.
Sure.
But I think that there is a superpower to being firm in our faith, firm in our hope, and not even allowing that stuff to drain our energy, because it does, and it's not good for us.
For sure. Yeah, and I think one thing, I mean, those things that you mentioned definitely come up for me, because it's like, yeah, I know who you are, God, but me, like, and so it's like a reminder of, it really doesn't have anything to do with me, right? I mean, like, his love for me, his character as a provider, that's who he is. You know what I mean? And the other thing is like, yeah, maybe it's like, what do you want to teach me in this time? Or what would you like me to focus on while I don't have a job? Is there anything that you want me to do? Because one blessing that I saw in retrospect, in that time where I didn't have a job before USA. So funny story, like, I was just finished grad school, no job. I was at home with my parents. I was like 30 something already. And I was literally like, I was so ashamed of myself. I was like, I can't stay home, because to them I just look like a bum, right? So I was like, I literally like packed my bag every morning as if I was going to work. And so I would leave the house before 9. I wouldn't come back till like after 5 every day, and every weekday. And so I would go to the library, apply for jobs. When that got boring, I would go to church. The church was open, so I could just go pray. So I spent a lot of time there. I brought my Bible with me, read the Bible, and I was still a relatively new Christian, new believer. And so those, like, it was like reading things for the first time. Going to lunch at like McDonald's, getting something from the dollar menu, like, just because I didn't have money. But looking back, I was like, that was such a sweet time with God. Like, I really felt it was just me and him. My friends were all working, so they couldn't hang out. And so it was me and God, like at church, or in my car, at the library. And I felt really close to him. And then growing and reading the Bible and understanding the word more, that was like a boot camp for that. And so looking back, like, wow, that was such a precious time. I was so focused on, I need a job, but looking back, it was so sweet. And then at the right time, he gave me the job. So the other thing is like, is there something you want me to focus on in this season? And the other thing is reminding myself, hey, like, there's nothing that we can do to make God love us more, right? And there's nothing we could do to make God love us less. He already loves us 100%. That means he loves me as much as he loves Paul or the Apostle John or Moses or any of these like famous people that we read about in the Bible or any even big name pastor. It's like he loves me as much as he loves that person. Or the person that he did give a job to, well, I know he doesn't love me less than that person, so I'm going to trust in you, God. And so it's a reminder, like, I'm not less than, because we didn't do anything to earn our salvation, right? It's not like God did 99% and I put in the 1%. It's like he literally came and saved us, right? The Bible says, like, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, right? Even when we were sinners, we were his enemies because we were sinning against him. He still chose to send his son and take our sins on the cross, right? and purchase us and redeem us. So it's like, okay, if I have to remind myself those things when I get into that hole of like, it's me,
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's really good. I really like that. I really like how, but that's again, I do think that's the weak link. I think generally where that little voice will start to come up, and so I love how those are some tools that we can remind ourselves that, hey, his love is bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we kind of already touched upon it, but if people who are listening to us right now, and it may not be a job, it may be something else that they're going through, a sickness or relational issues, something where they feel like they're in their storm, in the middle of their storm. What are some takeaways? What's some maybe advice you could give that person who's listening right now, who's going through their own situation?
Yeah, it's really difficult, right? First of all, like, I'd say give yourself permission to have your feelings, to feel the pain, to feel the disappointment, to feel even some of the anxiety, right? Like, that's one, I think, where we want to allow ourselves to feel, but then we start to respond to those feelings, that pessimism, and so we're having that internal dialogue, and it's okay to feel even doubt, right? It's like, we're human beings, we're going to have doubt, but then we want to be armed with the word, with these tools, like this type of prayer that you just described. For me, that's the first time I've ever heard of it, but that's beautiful. And so having those weapons ready for when that voice is coming in, whether it's saying that we're not good enough, or saying that we don't deserve happiness, or that we're not worthy, or that we're not, that we're not worth it. Because I've heard that from fully Christian people who still somehow tell themselves, yeah, God is great, but I'm not worth it. I'm not deserving. And so I think having those weapons ready to go, so that in our internal dialogue, we can quickly have that response that God's love is bigger than this problem. God's love is going to stay with us after this, no matter how it works out, right? Because some people might be, I don't know, I'll speak from my own experience with this challenge and with many others in my life. It's the anticipation of the worst thing happening is worse than the worst thing happening a lot of times in my mind. So I remember in the past when I was dating, I'd have all this anxiety, all this stress over a breakup or whatever. And then once the breakup happened, it's like, okay, well, moving on. It's happened. It's over. That might not be the case in every situation, but the point is, like, whether it's in anticipation of this thing that might happen, or that worst thing might have already happened to us, the point is God's there with us. And so having those verses, having those prayers ready, and giving ourselves that grace to feel our feelings, and giving ourselves some of that time to love ourselves, whether that's a walk around the block in nature, whether that's a little bit of time to pray, whether that's going to the library and going to church, whatever it might be in that situation. I'd say just remember that God's with you and that he's there.
Amen. Yeah. While you were talking, a verse came to mind too for me. So I was looking it up. It's Romans 8:32. Okay, it says, "He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things?" And so, like, if he was willing to provide for us a way out of our situation of being stuck in sin by giving his own son, like Jesus, and he already did that, like, what else? Like, how could we expect him? How could we think that he wouldn't, you know, by his grace, give us what we need? You know, if he didn't withhold his son, I mean, he's not going to withhold a job. He's not going to withhold, you know, that thing that we need. Now, it doesn't always look like what we ask for, but trusting that he loves us that much to give us his son, then we know that he loves us enough to take care of us and walk with us, and in our situation provide for us. The other thing I was thinking when you were sharing that was, man, like, I can't imagine what it would be like sometimes if I was going through situations like this and I didn't know God, or I didn't have a relationship with God. I mean, man, I mean, I don't know how. He's like, I would feel probably pretty hopeless, or I would maybe go into the self strength mode where, like, I got to make things happen my way, right? Like, I got to take matters into my own hand, and then I'll get into the panic mode or stressed. And relatively, I haven't been that stressed. Sometimes I wonder, like, should I be more stressed? But, like, I'm like, I don't feel that stressed, even though, but I would say for the person who's listening who doesn't know Jesus yet, look into that, like, explore, talk to a Christian pastor, a Christian friend that you trust. Look into it. There's so many resources online now. I mean, there's ways to learn about God through YouTube, through Bible Project YouTube channel. I mean, reading the Bible for yourself. I would say, like, those are all things where you could just look into it. What if God is not real, then there's nothing to lose. I mean, maybe a little time and effort, but if he is real, then that will make all the difference. I mean, there's nothing better that you could be spending your time on to look into, right? And so that would be my encouragement. And I came from a Buddhist background, but I would say, like, if you, whatever background you came from, like Alex was saying, like, we respect, people's cultures and stuff like that. But if we found, like, the true living God, we want people to know that living God. We can respect people's cultures and even, like, their traditions, but more important than culture or tradition is knowing the truth. And if God is real, if Jesus is real, then we want our friends, our loved ones, even strangers, to know him, because it's the most important thing. So you're going to say something, I think.
Yeah, no, I think with that, no, I don't know what I was going to say.
Sorry. Well, this is just part one. So this is the two-part episode. We're doing this part where we're still in the middle of our storm. We're in the middle of our situation. So obviously we don't have a testimony for our specific situation, but the hope is that soon we can have a episode part 2 where we can share how, the rest of the journey went and how God came through for us. So to our listeners, stay tuned for that episode. I'm excited for that episode where we can talk about that. But as we wrap up, if Alex, if you wouldn't mind praying for our listeners. especially those who may be going through their hard times right now.
Sure. God in heaven, thank you so much for this opportunity to be together. We're talking straight to each other as friends, with your participation here, into the hearts of these listeners, whoever they may be, wherever they may be, and whatever they may be facing. And we know that you're here. We know that you're working. We know that you're in our hearts, and that you have a purpose for each and every one of us. It's all part of your plan. We all have a reason for being here, whatever it may be, and we might not know at any given time. Sometimes these challenges are part of that. I believe always they're part of it, because either they're lessons, or they're putting us in the place where we need to be. They're giving us a context or an experience that we need to be able to relate to someone. Who knows what it might be, God? You do. And so we trust that even these challenges and these difficult moments are part of your plan, and it's part of your purpose for us. You're preparing us. You're working on us. And whatever it might be, we know that you're with us. And that's got to be the solace. It's the ultimate prize, actually. It's the ultimate reward, because what better thing can we have than the Almighty God, Jesus, loving us and in our hearts and present in our lives, actively involved. Mm-hmm. So really, when it's all said and done, we've already won the battle, and you've done it for us, and you're with us, and we thank you, God. So help us to remember that. Help us to remember that you're with us every step along the way, no matter how difficult it might be. As long as we have that solace of knowing that you're with us and that you're walking with us. I pray for all of the listeners. I pray for Ide and his mission and his work here, and just thank you for your presence and for your wisdom and for your care. In Jesus' name, pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. It's been awesome having you.
Thank you.
And looking forward to part 2.
All right, brother. Yeah, we'll do that soon. Sooner than later.